Hi everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
बोल
Yeah. Yeah.
हाँ बोल अभी
आज हम लोग का सेकेंड 1 मिनट मैम।
हाँ
आज हम लोग को सेकेंड डे का जो सीआरई प्रोग्राम है सेकेंड आपका स्टार्ट होने जा रहा है।
ना ना ना
आज हम लोग का पास रिसोर्स पर्सन है रुस्सा कर्मकार, साइकोलॉजिस्ट, टाटा कंसल्टेंसी सर्विस मुंबई। मैडम का टॉपिक जो है पॉलिसीज इंश्योरिंग सेफ्टी ऑफ चिल्ड्रन विद डिसेबिलिटी। मैडम हम लोग का सपना सोसाइटी और तोराइट वर्ल्ड स्पेशल एजुकेशन ट्रेनिंग कॉलेज से वेलकम। आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं।
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I would request everyone to switch on their video and switch off their audio and get set for a good topic that we would be talking today. I would also request everyone to keep their laptop, their mobile, whatever they have still on a plane so that we can have a good conversation today. Ensuring today's topic, as you know, for me is that policies ensuring safety for children with disabilities. So we would be talking about the policies that are on action in our country, and also we would also see how it is getting affected for the children out here. I would be also talking about a case, and I would also request everyone to hear what I'm saying so that all of you can answer the question correctly. And I hope everyone is prepared, everyone is calm, comfortable, and has a pen and a paper with them, and they are seated comfortably in a place, and they have a bottle of water with them so that I can start my session and there is no interruption. Okay? Yeah? Okay. So just give me a second. I would be sharing my screen. So, and I would also share my PPT. So give me a second. Yeah. Do tell me if you guys don't understand something, but yeah. Give me a second or so. I hope my screen is visible. Someone say yes or no. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, give me a second. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so as my topic for today, I would also talk about
ম্যাম ইগো হচ্ছে
ওকে
সাউন্ডটা ইগো
এখন হচ্ছে
না না এখন ঠিক আছে
এখন ঠিক আছে তো
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে
ঠিক আছে so initially before starting to the policies and what are there and the underlying policies and the intentions that the government facilities have, let's talk about the model which is very relevant in today's context, which is Bronfenbrenner's ecological model. I just want to know how many of you know about Bronfenbrenner's ecological model. If any one of you know, please raise your hand. Does anyone know about Bronfenbrenner's ecological model? Okay, does anyone know about Bronfenbrenner's ecological model? Yes or no, guys? Okay, I guess no one knows. So basically, Bronfenbrenner's ecological model is much more about the layers that are there in the ecological and the systems perspective that we can observe in an individual's life and individual's reflection of them. Basically, when we are talking about children who are there in the society, we need to understand that the children are not in the vacuum. They are observing and staying in systems which affect them and systems which make them feel comfortable. It doesn't make them feel comfortable, which they are together or with which they are not together. So what we need to know about the different systems that are there. So the first system that is there is the microsystem, which is the immediate environment that the children are in. So it is the microsystem. Then it's the mesosystem. Mesosystem is the connections that the children make. The children are together in the society, so they make the connections, right? So that's the mesosystem. Then the exosystem. So the indirect environment, maybe the parents' working environment, maybe the grandparents' working environment. These systems are the exosystems. Then the macrosystems, the social and the cultural values. That we need to understand how the social and cultural values are often something which reflects and which works in the society. Because we teach our children how to respond, how to respect, how to understand certain things in respect to these things. So yes, macrosystem is also an important thing. And chronosystem is something which changes over time, which reflects over time. So yes, chronosystem is also an important and challenging thing to understand. Yeah. As you can see this chart and what is put here, you can understand how microsystem, macrosystem, exosystem, everything is working here, right? Do you guys understand? Now, it's just the reflection of how a child is belonging to the system and how it is ecologically layered, and it is how biopsychosocially respected and layered in the society. Yeah, okay. So I just want to know that why this is relevant in the current context. Why is it relevant in the context of policy making or accommodating child in the better environment? Firstly, we have to remember all these systems are complex layers that are there in child's life. It's also renamed, as I mentioned, as bioecological model, which is a very systematic approach towards understanding and reflecting the policies that can help and facilitate the children. So microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, or chronosystem, all are together linked for the children to function better in the society. So also we have to understand there is a debate of nature and nurture in this whole place, and also using the mainstream of formulation and guidance, which is also important, and also incorporating biopsychosocial model in the bigger environment and the layers the child belongs and guiding the child towards that layer is very important when we're looking at these aspects. The aspects which here mentioned by Bronfenbrenner is pretty old, but in respect to current situation. It's a very important, very, very respected, very much understandable situation that we need to process and function. So what is disability? I will not talk about the biomedical model, which makes this disability a major source of problem, a major source of inhibition for individuals, but I will talk about the socially constructed or the socio-biological model and the social model, which sees disability as not something which is not an individual's fault, but also the interaction and the respect between the different individuals. The disability is a result of interaction between people's lives, the impairments and the environment which they belong. And disability is basically socially constructed. We are no one to understand what is or who are individuals are disabled or not disabled. So it's important to understand that what disability in the social sphere or social arena is making us think, making us feel. Okay, to the audiences. I'll stop sharing it and I will be asking you a question. What do you think is impairment? And what do you think is disability? From the audiences, someone please say. What do you think is impairment? And what do you think is disability? Give it a thought.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
हेलो हेलो
मैम आपका स्पीकर ऑफ है मैम.
हाँ हेलो हेलो
Impairment is that kind of situation which is not permanently after his corrective surgery, and then it will be repairable, means it means repairable situation. But disability is always disabled, that not done very well after corrective surgery.
I don't know who is speaking, but your voice is echoing, so I can't hear you at all. Please mute it and try to, talk again.
Hello, ma'am. Impairment, disability, ये by birth या 18 years के अंदर पर करते हैं disability. और impairment means वो कभी भी हो सकता है by accident, by medicine, ऐसे कोई parts of the body कुछ impair हो गया हो, जैसे पैर कट गया हो या हाथ या उंगली या आई साइट चले गए हो, कोई एक्सीडेंट के वजह से या मेडिसिन के वजह से. लेकिन डिसेबिलिटी जो है वो बाय बर्थ ज्यादातर देखा जाता है, ड्यूरिंग बर्थ और आफ्टर 18 इयर्स के अंदर वो एक्वायर होता है. जैसे इंटेलेक्चुअल डिसेबिलिटी होता है 18 इयर्स के अंदर ही वो एक्वायर होता है.
ऐसा नहीं है मैडम, जो इम्पेयरमेंट होता है वो कोई करेक्टिव सर्जरी के बाद भी कोई करने से भी रुक गया, जो अपने फिजिकली बॉडी के अंदर.
Your voice is echoing. I can't hear you at all.
इम्पेयरमेंट होता है मैडम जो करेक्टिव सर्जरी के बाद भी जो ठीक सही नहीं किया जाता और उनमें से कहीं ना कोई प्रॉब्लम रह जाता है, या तो उसे हम ठीक कर सकते हैं, उसे हम इम्पेयरमेंट कहते हैं. डिसेबिलिटी तो परमानेंटली जो होती है बाय बर्थ, जो अभी कोई मैडम बोले कि बाय बर्थ जो डिसेबिलिटी होती है वो डिसेबिलिटी होती है मैडम, बाय बर्थ होती है. या तो एक्सीडेंटली कोई किसी का हाथ कट गया या तो उसकी एक आंख चली गई एक्सीडेंटली के अंदर, तो वो डिसेबिलिटी में आ जाता है. मगर इम्पेयरमेंट जो वो होता है जो कोई एक्सीडेंटली में हम उसकी सर्जरी करते हैं, तो उनमें से थोड़ी सी कोई प्रॉब्लम रह जाती है, ज्यादातर नहीं मगर थोड़ा सा करेक्टिव सर्जरी के बाद जो रहता है, जो डिसेबिलिटी नहीं है मगर उसे इम्पेयरमेंट करता है, उसे हम ठीक कर सकते हैं इम्पेयरमेंट के, मगर वी कैन नॉट रेडी फॉर डिसेबिलिटी.
Ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. May I
Let's see.
May I talk, ma'am?
Yes, go ahead, speak.
Yeah, ma'am. As per my knowledge is concerned, ma'am, I think, ma'am, impairment is something dysfunctionality in the organ level. It can be acquired or it can be by birth, but
Okay.
because of this impairment, when my environment get restricted, then it's called a disability.
Okay.
Am I right, ma'am?
Let's reflect on whatever you all said, right?
Ma'am,
Yeah,
impairment is the weakness or problem developed from the disability.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Your voice is
Hello.
echoing.
Hello. Am I
Yeah.
audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Impairment is the weakness or problem
Mhm.
which is come from the disability. And disability is the congenital health problem.
Okay.
That means which has been developed from birth.
Okay. Let's reflect on whatever you all said, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
So, what is impairment? Impairment is a medical condition that leads to disability. So, age is not a factor, not a dimension that you are understanding disability or impairment here. It can happen at any point of time. You can meet with an accident, you can have a fall, or by birth, you can have some problem, which includes cerebral palsy, which includes having the problem of Down syndrome. So these are the issues we are having from birth. And also, please mute yourself, everyone. I can't hear everyone, so just mute yourself. Okay, I hope everyone is muted. Yeah. So basically, impairment is a medical condition that generally leads to disability. Whereas disability is often when individual, it results with between people living with impairments and barriers in the physical, attitudinal, communicational, and social environment. So you see, impaired disability has a layers to it. It doesn't only just take the age of an individual or the birth defects of an individual or the suddenness of a situation. It is much more than that. It is more because it has a social tinge, it has a physical, attitudinal, and various things that are attached to being disabled or not being disabled. I hope everyone is clear. Yes or no? If you are clear, just give a thumbs up. Yeah, everyone is clear? Cool. Before going to the next zone, let's see how you all are feeling, right? So just think about those eyes and think which zone you're in. So I have put these few zones: blue, green, red, and yellow. Okay, so what is blue? You're sad, you're tired, you're sick, you're bored. Green, you're calm, you're okay, you're happy to learn. In yellow, what happens? You are feeling silly or frustrated or hyper or upset, right? And at the red one, you're feeling mad, you're feeling angry, you want to yell, you want to hit. So just tell me which zone you all are in. You can put it in the chat also, that you're feeling bored, you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you're feeling tired. Just tell me, so that we can, when we go to the next section, we go with a new set of energy, right? Okay, so tell me, what do you feel? What you guys are feeling right now? Someone tell me.
Yes, ma'am. Like now, Christmas is here, so I think the mental strata we are in, like the happy mood, ma'am. Like the go, ready, steady, and go.
Okay, you're in the go mood. And who all are not in the go mood? You can tell me that. You're feeling tired, you're feeling very angry. So we can do some exercises to rejuvenate yourselves. Okay, everyone is feeling happy. Everyone is feeling that they're ready to do everything. That's very good. That's very positive. So basically, when we are in the other zones, like the red zone, the yellow zone, or the blue zone, I would generally suggest individuals to do things that they feel happy, they feel comfortable, they feel satisfied about. So just do things and take it slowly. Don't do things when people are pushing you to do. Do things when you feel it's right to do. You feel you can process those emotions. So do it for that. So this section will be a little boring. So bear with me. I'll be talking about acts and rights that are in function, that are processing. So it can be a little boring. Stop me if you don't understand, and we will go do this together. So these policies and schemes for children with disabilities. So do you know about the cycle of invisibility? How disabled individuals are treated, how disabled individuals are made to feel in the long term, in the feelings that they are processing, and other things that are there in the long term. So when we are talking about the cycle of invisibility, we have to remember the few things that are there in the cycle of disability, right? Okay. So first, we have to remember how the invisible disabled peoples are hidden in the back of the room. Like they are not given the access, they're not given the rights to process things, they're not given the happiness or the things that are required to process things. So generally, this happens. What happens? Invisible disabled people hidden in back rooms. They have problem with the community is not accepting them, the community does not prioritize the problems of the disabled, and there is no service and inclusion, which leads to discrimination and lack of awareness, which in turn gives the cycle of invisibly disabled people hidden in back rooms. So, a society where disabled people are not given their rights, not given their access, is as harmful as a society which doesn't view individuals as humans, maybe, or women as a part of their group, maybe, or LGBTQIA community as their group. So you have to remember that how invisibility persists, and we have to break the chain of invisibility. As you can see, it goes in a circle. So we have to break the chain of invisibility. So before coming to the policies, what do you think are the policies that are there, that are really in function for the individuals who are disabled? What do you think? Do you have any idea? If anyone has an idea, please raise their hands. Please tell me. If you have any idea about any policies, any laws, any act, you know. Anyone?
What?
I'll
Sorry,
take 1
madam.
minute.
Please
If
repeat.
no one knows.
Madam, please repeat.
Yeah, you're not audible.
No, audible.
Yeah.
Something problem come in my mobile, so I can't listen you very well.
What? I can't hear you. Can you be loud? Hello.
Hello.
Okay. We will be moving to the next section on the acts, laws, and rights which are there in our government, which are functionable in our government, and also which we require to put forward and help to revive the disabled individuals, and also, being mindful of our terms before using these terms and things like that. In our constitution, there has been a lot of legal rights of individuals. You cannot discriminate individuals on basis of any caste, color, religion, disability. That is a thing. And we have to remember that everyone has the basic rights of surviving, of dealing with their lives, of being comfortable. So that is the rights, that is their duties, and it's our duties to actually respect this and help the individuals in processing the whole part, processing the whole thing. So yeah. So first and foremost, the policies that are in action that have been passed ahead are the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016, Mental Health Care Act of 2017, the National Trust Act of 1999, and the Rehabilitation Council of India Act of 1992. Okay, so everything has been revived and revised. So you have to be very mindful about using these laws and rights. So in rights of person with disabilities, the main provisions are non-discrimination, affirmative action, grievance redressals, social security, research and manpower development, early and prevention and early detection, education, employment. These are the main things that are there. So there's a special mention on education, and that's what my work is today, to make you all realize the special mention of education and the duty of educational institutions that is there, right? That is very important when we are looking in the mainstream. So the appropriate, you have to understand, government and the local authorities shall endeavor that all institutions funded or recognized by them provide inclusive education to the children with disabilities. And towards that end, they should be having education which would support the individuals with disability, basically also to also admit them with the discrimination, provide education, opportunities for sports and recreational activities equally with others, making buildings, campuses, and various facilities available. We know about it by the ramps that we see in school, right? The lift that is in school, the braille work that is in school, so that school, colleges, where they can touch and feel which section or which class they need to go. Providing reasonable accommodation to the individuals, also providing necessary support to individuals, ensuring education to persons with both who are deaf and blind and impaired. That is very important. And also to have accessible language for these individuals. Also to detect the problem at the earliest, and also monitor participation, provide transportation facilities, and also specific measures are there to promote and facilitate inclusive education, which includes to conduct survey of school-going individuals for identifying children with disabilities, asserting the special needs of children, basically, providing for the first survey that they're there, to establish adequate number of teacher training institutions, to employ and train teachers who themselves have disabilities so that they can teach the individuals who have disabilities with that rigor, to train professional staff for inclusive education, to establish adequate number of resource centers to support educational institutions, to promote use of appropriate augmentative and alternative modes, including means and formats of education, using brailles, using sign languages, also to fulfill the daily communication needs of individuals of speech, communication, or language disability. Also to provide books and other learning materials for the individuals, right? These are also important. And to provide scholarship, to provide and improve and promote learning, basically, and to make modifications in the curriculum, make it easy for the students to respect and understand. So it's very important to do that. What do you think about the Mental Health Care Act of 2017? How is it helping to facilitate the Disabilities Act of 2017? What do you think? What do you all think? Anyone wants to share their views? Anyone? Okay, no one wants to share their views. Okay, I'll go ahead. We have to remember that Mental Health Care Act of 2017, which has been passed up in 1987. You see the amount of years that has passed for a law and act to pass. We can see how it is and how it takes a lot of time for any act to pass in our government, in our legislature. So it's very important to respect this act and actually give equal opportunities for individuals with mental health care problems and also with individuals who are disabled. So we have to understand that how decriminalization of suicide was done, how ECT and use of it was tried to curb and lower down for this issues, and also the whole idea about safeguarding the rights of individuals who are there with disability is a major impact of this whole thing. Because when an individual with disability or any individual with any type of problem would come to you, how would you respect them? How would you respond to them? It's a major thing on this act. And also to have a social community build up for the whole individual is also an important thing in this whole process, and which helps at augmenting the whole process of individuals with disability to seek help. Also, our Rehabilitation Council of India in 1992 had a lot of restriction on the buildings and the teachers and the process and the people which needs to be invested in educating the disabled individuals. And also there has been strong penal code law if individual doesn't respect or doesn't adhere to these laws and rules, right? These are the most and the major important things that are there, that needs to be processed, that needs to be seen by you all, right? So to be served as a trained professional and in the Rehabilitation Council, it's very important to have a degree or diploma adhering to that, adhering to the whole thing that, you know, you are an individual who is recognized under RCI. If you're a clinical psychologist, you have to have an MPhil from an RCI recognized institution. If you're an individual with special BEd, you need to also have an RCI license. So you have to understand these major tweaks and turns that are there in the major build-up, in the major understanding. So everyone who is a disabled individuals or who needs to seek anything adhering to that can go to the Rehabilitation Council of India's recognized schools and institutions and get themselves treated, get themselves, admitted, and the standard of education would be maintained there, right? Also, the Right to Education Act is an important thing where children would be given the access to study, the right to free and compulsory education, which is a very important thing. We know about Sarva Shiksha Abhigyan. So that is the idea about it. That is the whole point of having children who can't access education would go and seek education, right? Also, the consequences of this right to education would also be something that this full-time elementary education of satisfaction and equitable equality in the form of school which satisfies certain essential norms and standards. So you can't give substandard education to children. You have to have some standard for the education. So India and the UNCRPD is also a major thing, is National Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So we have to understand how it has impacted the laws and rights that are being in the Indian context and which has helped them. So the convention is basically a statement of inclusivity and educational rights, which is important for the children, not just physical accessibility, but the bill also, helps us understand the pedagogical adaptations that need to be made in the classroom, and empowerment and employment of teachers who are trained and have a disability themselves. It's a very important take, in fact. And also to segregate infrastructures, help the children build up their own, trusts and have their own space is an important thing. So do you guys know about any central government benefits that are given to the individuals with disability? Do you all know about anything? You can raise your hands and talk about it. Anyone knows? Okay, I think no one knows. So I would go ahead. So the central government schemes are very important for providing safety for the children with disabilities. Firstly, disability certificate, which needs to be, it has 5-year validity. So every 5 years you renew it. So there's identity card, there's education programs for children with special needs, there's special schools, there's children's educational allowance and scholarship, there's employment and reservations, there's concessions in rail and train and airfare. There has been concessions, and also you see in bus also there is a seat for the handicapped individuals or disabled individuals. So that is the respect, that is the amount of respect we really need, the inclusivity we really need for individuals. Okay, let's do an exercise. I hope you all are seated right now. So you all give up yourself and feel comfortable and process the emotions that are there. So how to give a hug? Generally, you take an arm around your hand and another arm around your waist and give yourself a tight squeeze. I hope you all can do it. I need to see some people doing it. So it's basically hugging yourself. I hope you all hug yourself, accept the emotions that are there and process it, right? Give yourself a hug. Give yourself a tight hug. Yeah, very good. Many of you are doing, and I'm very happy to see that. Very good. Give yourself a tight hug. Tell yourself that you can process the emotions, you're feeling mindful, you're feeling comfortable with yourself. Close your eyes and just feel the feeling. You all can do it, right? Okay. I will also teach you guys a breathing exercise, which is also known as box breathing. And it would soothe yourselves and your nerves. So everyone close your eyes. Whoever is online, who is in video, please, everyone close your eyes. You all can close your eyes, right? Open the spectacles, close your eyes. Okay. So you have to breathe in and count for 4. Look at me, okay? And you're breathing out in the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you're breathing in the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're releasing the breath with the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is just to ground you, to make you feel comfortable, and just make you feel happy. And making you feel about the space. I hope you are taking a good breath. Right? Okay. I would love to tell you about a quote which I came across yesterday, told by Christopher Reeve, where he says, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. I feel that everyone is a hero in themselves. Everyone is a hero because we are trying to make a better version of ourselves every day. And individuals with disability or children with disability needs to have that hope. As teachers or educators, you also need to instill that hope in individuals. That would change the way individual will look at things, individual will feel things. So yes, yeah. So another individual I would love to quote is, I would like to talk about Stephen Hawking and his work, but he himself, being individual who is a disabled individual, has impacted so many individuals, has responded to so many individuals. The process has been so therapeutic, and understanding his work has also been a therapeutic thing for individual. So there has been multiple scholarships of individuals who are disabled, and do you guys know about it? Anyone of you know about any scholarship that is awarded to the disabled children in India? Do you know about it? Anyone? Okay, no one knows. So I would go ahead and I would talk about the scholarships that are awarded to the students with disabilities. So there's pre-matrix scholarship scheme where 9th and 10th standard students are given scholarships so that they don't go for dropouts, they don't drop out of school, they don't just drop out school, because often they are not, that has not been there. So we have to realize that how inclusivity is a major thing which helps children to process a lot of things. Inclusivity is a major thing when we are talking about anything like this. So students are selected for scholarships, get stipend in monthly basis for 10 months in a year. The rates of scholarships, as I have mentioned, is hostelers are having 600 rupees and scholars and 350 rupees, and they receive an additional amount of 1,000 rupees for purchasing books and additional materials. And also they get reading allowances, helper allowance, coaching allowances. The individuals are getting this, the pre-matrix scholarship, right? And there is this also post-matrix scholarship, where the students are given the the push or the pull to study and qualify after the higher secondary education, so that they can purchase their secure admission in bachelor's and master's courses. The aim of the scholarship is to also extend financial support to the meritorious handicapped students. So the children would be getting a lot of scholarships here, which includes coaching allowances for some 240 rupees, and also getting a reading allowance, also to get special allowances, and there's also getting a reimbursement amount of 150 lakhs and 1.5 lakhs basically, sorry. And also they have this, they can take up a lot of things which they feel like conducting, they feel like doing. So basically helping the students continue with the education. That is an important thing. The National Fellowship for Students with Disabilities is also another thing which has been given to individuals to purchase higher education like MPhil and PhD, and if they're getting GRF, that is a 16,000 rupees, and the fellowship for the rest of the year is 18,000 rupees. They get 2,000 rupees for reader and escort alliances. So there has been a lot of things for the students that are there. And also there is Saksham Scholarship for differently able students, which includes the individuals who cannot afford to study. And also the students get tuition fees. They also get 2,000 rupees for the monthly basis. Also they get money to purchase books, materials, and also they get a lot of allowances from the government itself, right? And there is National Handicap Finance Development Corporation, who also give the benefits to the scholarship, and also they get books and money for the individuals in the graduation level though, and also which helps them to fulfill their dreams, their ambitions for the children. So there's a case study about an individual who lives with cerebral palsy in Bombay and who is enrolled in general education first grade class at her local neighborhood school. And her first grade teacher reported that she was an average student academically and generally pays attention to her seat in academic assignments. Also, we have to remember that Junaida's reading and math skills were near grade level and similar to those of most of the other students in her class. However, a teacher also reported that Junaida had several behavioral challenges at the beginning of the first grade. Her teacher indicated that she's shy and timid and often refusing to stand up to herself when interacting with her peers. She rarely volunteered to participate in group activities or on the playground. She would often withdraw and she would often socially withdraw in social situations and requiring her to work with others, students. So let's reflect, okay? What can be done and which school can she be put? What do you think? This is to the audiences. What do you think? What do you think?
Hello.
Yes.
पहले तो चाइल्ड का असेसमेंट करना पड़ेगा कि वो अगर इंटेलेक्चुअल डिसेबल है तो माइल्ड, मॉडरेट, सीवियर या प्रोफाउंड है कि नहीं। जैसे कि बॉर्डर लाइन बेबी होते हैं, आईक्यू टेस्ट के बाद पता चलता है, या माइल्ड ये बेबी मुझे लगता है कि इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन में देने से वो लोग ज्यादा मतलब उन लोग का डेवलपमेंट बहुत ज्यादा होता है, क्योंकि वो लोग अपने एज के बच्चों के साथ मिक्स हो सकते हैं, उन लोगों का बिहेवियर ये सब एक्वायर कर सकते हैं, सीख सकते हैं, और उन लोग अपना ड्यूटीज अच्छा से समझ सकते हैं, या उन लोगों का क्या मतलब क्या क्या मिलना चाहिए ये भी पता चलता है। लेकिन अगर प्रोफाउंड या सीवियर टाइप के बच्चे होते हैं तो उन लोगों का अगर नॉर्मल स्कूल में दिया जाता है, क्योंकि हम लोग का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उतना अच्छा नहीं है, तो बहुत बुलिड होता है, उन लोगों का प्रॉब्लम होता है। तो पहले असेसमेंट के बाद अगर वो बच्चा का मेंटल या सब कुछ वो पूरा चेक करने के बाद अगर हम स्कूलिंग का डिसीजन ले तो अच्छा होता है, क्योंकि जैसे कि हम बोले प्रोफाउंड ऐसे बच्चों के लिए स्पेशल स्कूल ही मुझे लगता है बेटर होता है, क्योंकि वहाँ पे स्पेशल एजुकेटर होते हैं, उन लोगों को देखभाल करने के लिए केयर गिवर रहते हैं अलग से। लेकिन नॉर्मल स्कूल में अभी भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उतना अच्छा नहीं है कि इन सब बच्चों को एक साथ, जैसे कि ऑल डिसेबिलिटीज इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन में बोला जाता है, ऑल डिसेबल्ड पीपल विल स्टडी, एक साथ सब पढ़ेंगे। लेकिन वैसे कहाँ है, किसी को आँख का प्रॉब्लम है, विजुअल इम्पेयरमेंट है, किसी को हियरिंग प्रॉब्लम है, या जैसे कि सेरिब्रल पल्सी का बच्चा है, अगर 2 तल्ला में उसका क्लास है तो उसको उठने में प्रॉब्लम होता है। तो ऐसे ऐसे बैरियर्स रहता है, या टॉयलेट में जाने में प्रॉब्लम होता है, तो बैरियर्स रहता है। अगर हम लोग बैरियर फ्री कोई एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट कर सकते हैं तो मुझे लगता है अगर सब बच्चे लोग एक साथ पढ़े तो अच्छा होता है। लेकिन वो भी असेसमेंट के बाद, जैसे मैंने बोले कि नॉर्मल बच्चों को भी ठीक करना चाहिए कि स्पेशल बच्चे लोग को भी, उन लोगों को भी अलग अलग टाइप का एबिलिटी रहता है, तो वो लोग उसको दोस्त बनाए, उसका दोस्त के साथ साथ उसका को टीचर भी बने, कि वो जो जहाँ समझ नहीं पा रहे सेशन के बाद, क्लास के बाद उसको समझाए, उसके साथ बात करे, उसको सब नॉर्मल बिहेव करे, ना कि उसको बुलिंग करे। तो मुझे लगता है ऐसे अगर होता है तो बहुत अच्छा होगा।
Yeah. Completely. So individual with cerebral palsy has multiple disabilities. Which includes orthopedic, which includes often vision, which includes a lot of body issues, and which also includes emotional and IQ issues. So we are not measuring IQ first. We have to actually work towards various dimensions, which includes the orthopedic problems, which includes the behavioral emotional problems, and also to include the children who are there.
Most of we do for ramp and railing for physically handicapped child के लिए रैंप और रेलिंग की जरूरत रहती है इन स्कूल के अंदर, और उसका स्कूल का जो बैठक व्यवस्था जो होती है बच्चे की वो सही मात्रा में होनी चाहिए और बिहेवियर फ्री होना चाहिए। उसके लिए टॉयलेटिंग है, ड्रिंकिंग वाटर है, और एमडीएम के अंदर जो बच्चा खाने के लिए जाता है दोपहर में तो वो भी बिहेवियर फ्री होना चाहिए। जहां से अब मेरा दिव्यांग बच्चा यदि व्हीलचेयर में आता है तो उसे अच्छी तरह से आना जाना में कोई दिक्कत ना हो, ऐसा ख्याल रखना चाहिए स्कूल के अंदर।
Yeah, you all are right. I think there is this dimension we need to look at, which also importantly talks about how to rehabilitate children in other dimensions, right? Which includes physiotherapy, which also includes individuals with basic access and rights, which would help them to process that. And also to, as a trainer, as an educator, you all have a major role in understanding how to rehabilitate children, how to include children in the bigger term, how to include children in the big and mainstream. So it's all about mainstreaming the individuals, not separating them, and also to take that stance of education, which is very important in the long term.
Special educator's role is most important in the school. How to teach his teacher.
Hello, you're not audible. Can you just put it in the chat?
Audio mute kora jao.
Or everyone is like making a noise here. Please mute yourself, guys. Put it down in the chat, whatever you want to say, because I can't hear anything. I'm sorry. So, yeah. Someone was saying something, just put it down in chat. Okay. So we are to talk about advocacy here, right? Which enables the voice of people to be heard, which also enables individual to be a part of the care and increase autonomy of the clients, the doctors, and also to promote the rights of the individuals who are suffering discrimination because of their age, disability, sexuality, gender, culture, which also increases the quality of care system if you do advocacy in the right way. And also people with physical disability, intellectual disability, children and older people find it difficult to communicate their problems. Hence, advocacy is required. And advocacy is the only way through which your children will have a space to understand. So whenever we are seeking help, there are stages. So these are the stages. We have to first the ability to recognize psychological distress or physical distress or the disability. We have to understand that. And the root cause of it, beliefs about the cause, the beliefs about self-help, the knowledge and the beliefs about professional health, and the attitudes that facilitate recognition and self-seeking, and the knowledge of how to seek mental health information is also a major thing when we are trying to access individuals, when we are trying to make the policies for the individuals, when we are trying to understand the rights of individuals. So these are the important things. So if you think that recovery is not possible, think about how recovery is so possible. And setbacks are an important thing to understand how an individual is healing, recovering from a problem. So it's very important that how much value you're giving to self, you're giving to students, and the whole idea of disability you yourself is having. So the thing is that most importantly, biases is something which we all function with. We have to understand how to steer clear of these biases, how to come out of these biases. That is an important thing. That is something we need to respect and work on. So that's the end of my presentation. But I would love that all of you give your suggestions, understand what this whole possible problems are, and have a healthy discussion right now, so that we can take this conversation to a new level, right? I hope everyone has questions. Please raise your hands, ask questions, and I would love to hear it and respond it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am. Aims of the scholarship.
What? You're not audible. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
After scholarship.
Yes.
Aims of the scholarship.
I'm not understanding what you're saying, Rekha. Can you just put it down in the chat? Your voice is echoing. Yeah. Whatever questions you all have, please ask, okay?
No any question, madam. Very informative and interesting lecture.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. But whoever has questions, please tell me, okay? I am there. Then you all can transition out or wait for the next session. But I would love to hear your suggestions, your views, and how would you accommodate? Go ahead, guys, folks, whatever you have to say, please say.
मैडम हमका जो ये पीपीटी था इम्पेयरमेंट से जो चालू किया और लास्ट तक जो दिया है वो पीपीटी मिल जाएगा क्या?
Yes, I think Tapa sir will, tell you guys about this, about the PPT,
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything you want to say? I hope no one has questions. Right? Okay. Great. So if no one has questions, then I will transition out and you all can wait for your next guest to talk. I had a wonderful afternoon with you all and have a wonderful Christmas. Have a lot of fun with your relatives, with yourself, heal properly. I think the most important thing to healing is that hope. I hope everyone has the hope of having a wonderful year ahead and enjoys today. And last few days of this year, write what this year, why this year worked out for you or why this year didn't work out for you, and make some good resolutions, which will help you survive the next year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. So I'm transitioning and Tapa sir, is he here?
हाँ ma'am.
Yes, so sir, I would be transitioning. My lecture is over. So I hope you take over and I had a wonderful evening with you all. Take care, stay safe, and Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye all. Thank you. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, Rahul sir.
Yes, Tapas ji, कहिए.
हाँ सर.
मैं स्टार्ट करता हूँ.
हाँ सर, आपको हम इंट्रोडक्शन करके दे रहे हैं. नेक्स्ट हम लोग को जो पर्सन है राहुल कश्यप सर, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर दुबई टर्मिटी से. सर का जो लेक्चर है रोल ऑफ एस्थेटिक एंड ऑर्थेटिक सर्विस इन पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी. सर हम स्पेशल एजुकेशन से आपको वेलकम है. आप आज हम लोग का लास्ट जो रिसोर्स पर्सन है आप है. तो वेलकम सर, आप स्टार्ट कर दीजिए सर.
Thank you so much, Tapas ji. Hi everyone, I think everyone can listen me out. Myself Rahul Kashyap and I'm consultant prosthetist and orthotist working in Dubai with extremity prosthetics and orthotics. So the topic which I'm going to present over here today is the role of prosthetics and orthotic services inside disability field, how we can actually take it forward. So I'm not going to give you a very deep information about the policies and procedures and everything. Today, I'm going to share with you, like in your practical life, how you can actually implement this with your patients. Okay. So as per WHO, estimated that more than 650 million people across the globe are actually disabled. And this actually approximately equates 10% of the world population. That's huge. And out of those, 80% are actually living in low-income countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and other Asian countries across. So low-income countries actually accounts for 84% of the world population and 90% of the total disease burden. And India also actually shares a lot of burden of this. However, fewer than 3% of persons with disabilities in low-income countries have access to required disability rehabilitation services, whether it is orthotics and prosthetics, but I'll be talking mostly about orthotics and prosthetic services. So WHO estimates that among the disabled people living in low-income countries, the need for prosthesis will have to be risen by 40 million by 2020. And I think we have already passed that. So the requirement is even counting. So 40 million is a huge population actually. So the need for orthotic intervention is though to be even higher, but it remains underreported as requirements are actually not as visible as those of prosthetics. So in case of prosthetics, we actually come to know that a person doesn't have a limb, so we can actually count them. But when it comes to orthotics, it's very difficult actually to report those cases because a lot of cases are actually underrated. They're not seen, they're not reported into the consensus what is going on. So what is actually prosthetics and who are prosthetists and orthotists? I'm not sure how many of you actually is aware about it, but I'm going to give you a short description. Like prosthetics is which refers to the science of creating artificial body parts, which actually mimics the functional movement of any part of the body. And the artificial parts themselves are called as prosthesis. So prosthetic is like a science, or it's like a technology, you can say. It's overall process, and prosthesis is actually the artificial limb itself. So prosthetic is a specialty within the medical and healthcare field concerned with the research, development, design, manufacture, and application of prosthesis. So over here you can see this is the transtibial prosthesis below knee, and this is an actually transhumeral prosthesis, which is above elbow prosthesis, what we call. And the professionals who assess, evaluate, prescribe, fabricate or design and treat the patients resulting from illness, disorder, disability, including orthopedic, neurological, limb loss, or any musculoskeletal or neuromuscular disease, which actually results in a loss of function of a limb. So the person who does that is known as prosthetist and orthotist. I hope this is clear. So there are many types of prosthesis actually, how it is going to help you out. So you need to know like the different types of prosthesis and how you can guide them to a proper channel. So based upon the level of amputation over here, you can see in upper limb, we have shoulder disarticulation, forequarter amputation, elbow disarticulation or above elbow, or transhumeral disarticulation, below elbow or transradial disarticulation, then hand and wrist disarticulation, or a partial hand. So in upper extremity, these are the level of amputations what we are talking about. In lower limb, however, we have hemipelvectomy, where we remove a part of pelvis bone. Then we have hip disarticulation. Hip disarticulation, only ball and socket joint has been removed. So the femur is completely removed. Rest of the hip joint is being intact. In hemipelvectomy, we remove a part of pelvis as well. Then comes above knee or transfemoral. The amputation is done through the femur, mid of femur, or above the femur, or below the femur. Either it works. So then we go down. Then we have knee disarticulation, in which complete knee joint is actually intact. The femoral bones and condyles are actually removed over here. Then we have a rotation plasty. It's a very special type of surgery, which is a limb salvage surgery, which is opted in a case of osteosarcoma, where the knee joint is completely removed and the ankle joint actually works as a knee joint. Then we have a PFFD, or proximal femoral focal deficiency. In this level, there is no amputation done actually, but it results with the shortening of the limb actually, the apparent shortening of the limb. Then we have ankle disarticulation, signs, and partial foot. So these are all the level of amputations in general, what we see in our daily life in the field of disability. What are the common reasons for amputation? So very common is road traffic accident, RTA, trauma, burns are actually also major cause of amputations. Then peripheral vascular disease or diabetes, you can say on a very general term. Then we have malignant tumor. Then sometimes neurological conditions as well leads to amputation. Then infection or gangrene also leads to amputation. Or the congenital deformities, where a baby or child born without a limb, a part of a limb actually. So there we call it as a congenital deformities. So now let's come to what is a below knee prosthesis. So what makes a below knee prosthesis? So an artificial leg of below knee, you can see there is a socket over here. So this socket actually encompasses the stump, the residual limb, which is intact after amputation. Then there comes a pylon over here, and then the foot piece. So this is actually prosthetic feet, and there are different types of prosthetic feet, which I'll be discussing in the next slides. So this is a general below knee prosthetic, a prosthesis you can say, and this is how it looks when it goes inside a patient. It looks very similar, you can say as well over here. And this is moreover like a running prosthesis. In running prosthesis, it's like also called as sprinters. So in sprinters, actually those who are very active or a congenital amputees who has lost their limb in a very early stage, they also are opting for the sprinter type prosthesis. You must have heard about Oscar Pistorius. He was a Paralympic champion and he lost both the legs, but still he runs faster enough to win that Paralympic champion. So this is how a below knee prosthesis look like. So if you have in your daily practice any of the patients who has actually lost the limb, so you should actually guide them to a proper channel, to a local orthotist in your area, and refer them for a proper complete customized prosthesis done for him. Then comes the above knee prosthesis. In above knee prosthesis also, you can see over here that the knee joint is removed completely. So the socket comes into thigh portion, you can say. In below knee, it was into the calf portion. So in thigh portion, we design a customized socket. And then it comes with the different types of suspension. Over here, you can see this is a suction ball. So in suction, when the patient dons it, when the patient wears this prosthesis, actually, it creates a vacuum within this socket, and it doesn't allow the prosthesis to come out automatically. So it creates a negative vacuum inside, and it holds the complete leg there. And then comes the rotation adapter. This rotation adapter actually allows the patient to fold the knee, which helps them to actually sit cross-legged, or also do certain type of activities like putting in the shoes into the prosthetic feet. So one can actually easily bend the knee in all the directions, and it allows the knee joint to actually move 180 degrees in all the plane. Then comes the knee joint. This is a prosthetic knee joint, which actually mimics the motion of a normal anatomical knee joint, not 100%, but near to 100%, you can say. So there are different types of knee joint as well that I'll discuss. And then comes the pylon. So pylon is something which actually replaces the tibial shin or tibia bone, you can say, moreover. And then comes the foot shell or the prosthetic feet. And this is how it looks like when it goes inside the patient. This is known as a suspension sleeve. In case where the patient cannot have a suction valve, then we used to give them a suspension belt which holds the prosthesis on the patient's stump. So now we are talking about a prosthetic knee joint. There are different types of prosthetic knee joint, which actually I have told you, which mimics the motion of anatomical knee joint. So there is a mechanical knee joint over here, and then a pneumatic, then a hydraulic, and then a microprocessor. So what is a mechanical knee joint? A mechanical knee joint is a single axis knee joint, which actually pivots around a single axis, and it permits only flexion and extension. And you can see these are the springs loaded over here. These springs actually allows the patient to extend the knee to reach, you can say, a heel strike onto the first gate rocker. Then there comes the pneumatic. In pneumatic, there's no such type of springs actually, which is working. There are springs, but not actually for the same purpose. So in pneumatic knee joint, there is a pneumatic cylinder, which is filled with the gas, you can say. It absorbs the gas within the cylinder, and it allows the knee flexion and extension smoothly because there is a pneumatic cylinder inside. So it permits a very smooth knee flexion and smooth knee extension. Unlike pneumatic, in hydraulic, we use silicone oil inside the cylinder. So over here, we use like air or gas, you can say, in pneumatic. But in hydraulic, we use silicone oil. So silicone oil actually allows the user to have a more effective or a more efficient gait cycle, you can say. It permits a very easy rollover motion. It allows the user to ambulate in a very harmonious gait pattern. There are different features which is actually embedded inside this hydraulic knee joint. As you can see over here, this is a lock. So this lock actually allows the user to lock the knee in extension, and person can actually stand for a very long time where there is no fear that the knee joint will automatically bend down. Okay, so now coming on to the even further advancement, now there is a microprocessor knee available from different organizations across the globe. So microprocessor means there is a electronic chip, or you can say a microprocessor chip embedded in this area. And all the programmings are actually done in advance based upon the user's need, based upon the activity level of user, if he is a community ambulator or if he is a very active amputee. Based upon that, the programming chip is actually being done with the help of a software inside the computer. And also there is a remote control available to actually play with the knee joint features. So with the remote, a user can actually switch the modes. The modes like if the user wants to go with the cycling mode, so you can actually, with the help of a single click in this remote, you can actually transform the knee joint into a free knee joint, which allows the user to bicycle at a certain speed. On the other hand, when a person wants to go for skiing, So the user can actually adjust the knee joint according to his activity. If the user wants to run, he can actually change the mode of the knee joint based upon his or her needs or requirements. So this is the most advanced knee joint which is actually available nowadays into the market, and of course these are pretty expensive. So now let's move to prosthetic feet. As mentioned, there are different types of prosthetic feet. You can see in the picture over here. So starting with the Satch foot, the very basic foot actually, which you might have seen in your daily practice. Someone says like, I got a prosthesis from Jaipur foot or something like that. In a similar organization, you find this Satch foots available, which is made up of wooden keel and neoprene rubber. These are inexpensive and low in cost, also low in maintenance. So those who cannot actually afford a lot of advancement, they can actually take the benefit of prosthetic fit still, but it doesn't allow additional, or you can say luxurious features of any sort of microprocessor feet or carbon fiber feet like that. So this is a Satch feet. Now let's move to the next, which is a single axis feet.
বাংলাদেশ থেকে শুনে দমদম থেকে এয়ারপোর্টে যাবে, তা ও বললো, আমরা বললাম যে দমদম যাবে, দমদম থেকে হ্যাঁ উল্টো তো।
Can you mute yourself? Yeah. So coming on to the next prosthetic feet, we have a single axis feet over here. So similar to what we have seen in the knee joint, we have a single axis foot piece as well, which allows the user to do a plantar flexion or dorsiflexion passively. It permits certain degree of motion with the help of bumpers placed in the front of dorsiflexion and in the back for plantar flexion. So the bumper compresses and allows the user to have a certain degree of plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. That is what the feature of single axis foot piece is actually. Then we have an energy storing feet or a carbon fiber feet. Over here, the structure of the feet in such a way, like you can see there's a spring, C-shaped spring. So when the user puts the body weight onto the heel, it compresses down. So it calls the energy within the same shape. The structure allows the foot piece to store energy, which is like potential energy, you can say. And when it reaches onto the third rocker, it converts into kinetic energy. So that is what is the feature of energy storing. So it's like a dynamic response, what you can say. It allows the user to provide active push-off, and which also propels the user forward, providing a smooth gait with the less energy expenditure. These features are of course not available in Satch foot or a basic type of foot. Then we have multi-axial foot as well. In multi-axial foot, we have both the motions, like in a multi-plane, you can say. As you know that ankle permits plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, eversion, inversion as well. So there are multi-axial feet actually, which allows the user to do inversion and eversion as well up to certain degrees. So the structure allows, because the structure does like there is a slit over here. Sorry. So there is a slit in the midfoot actually, which allows the user to actually go with inversion and eversion as well. So these are general types of prosthetic feet actually. There are more prosthetic feet types as well, like microprocessor prosthetic feet, which is actually again a computerized, controlled, you can say a prosthetic fit, which a user can actually do with the help of remote control or either with software. And the foot piece actually adjusts based upon the user's need. Then the next is the orthoprosthesis. In the previous slides, when we were talking about level of amputation, we discussed about the proximal femoral focal deficiency, PFFD. So it is again a congenital deformity where you can see there is an apparent shortening of a limb on one side. So in this case, what we do, we actually design a socket, or you can say an orthosis, which also acts as a prosthesis. So the name as suggests, it is known as orthoprosthesis in a case of PFFD. So like, for example, phocomelia or something like that, where there is an apparent shortening of more than 10, 20, 30 centimeter, for example. So you cannot go with the extended shoe raise in that case. So you have to have something like this, which is called as orthoprosthesis. Now let's come to upper extremity prosthesis. So when we talk about level of amputation, we know there's a shoulder disarticulation, forequarter disarticulation, transhumeral, transradial. So based upon those level of amputation, we have a different prosthesis. For example, a cosmetic prosthesis, which you can see on the left side of the slide. It only mimics the texture, the color of the limb. It doesn't permit any functional abilities. So it doesn't allow user to pick anything, any object within the hand. And it is just for the cosmetic purpose, where a user can actually be a part of a social gathering or a social community, where he won't be discriminated based upon his disability. So just for the cosmetic purpose, we have cosmetic prosthesis, which is made up of silicone, and it matches the exact color. Moreover, 90 to 100, not 100%, but almost 99%, you can say, it matches the exact color of the patient's skin. Then we have a body-powered prosthesis. In a body-powered prosthesis, patients actually utilize their own muscles or certain movement, which actually allows the terminal device over here to open and then grasp something, and then to hold it for a long time, or to pick an object, or do any type of functional activities. So it just opens actively, and it closes based upon the dimension of the object a person is carrying. And when again he wants to open this terminal device, he needs to do certain type of motion, like shoulder retraction or abduction of the shoulder, something like that, to open. So this is a harness, and there is a cable which runs down from the terminal device to the socket, and then it attaches to the harness. So this allows a user to actually open the hand. So there are different types of terminal device as well. This is a hook. Then there are normal hands. Of course, over here you can see. So hand mimics like a 3-jaw chuck mechanism, where a person can actually open thumb, index finger, and middle finger. But if you want to have all the movements within your fingers, then you have to go with the bionic hand. So bionic hand actually permits a very fine, precise movements of your hand, prosthetic hand, and it gives you interphalangeal movements as well, like PIP, DIP, all the movements can be done over here. And user can actually pick up something very precisely, like picking up a key, picking up an object like this. You can see very precisely. This is called as a coin grip, something like that, or a pinch grip, I would say rather precisely. So there are different types of grips which are actually controlled by a microprocessor chip embedded inside this hand. Sorry. So this is a bionic hand. You can say this is the most advanced hand which is actually available right now in the market. Also, there are some new advancements which actually is controlled by your mind or your brain. So when you think of opening your hand, actually gives you some sort of signals from your brain to your hand to actually open your hand and close it. So that is more of like as a robotic hand, you can say. So those things are also available. Of course, those are very expensive. Then we have a myoelectric prosthesis. So unlike bionic hand, myoelectric prosthesis is also driven with the help of electrodes, which is over here, you can see. So electrodes actually catches the signal from the muscles with the help of contraction. So for example, for opening, we usually place the electrodes on the flexor group of forearm in case of transradial. And then to open, actually we put electrodes onto the extensor group of forearm. So it catches the signal, action potential from that particular group of muscle, and it converts into mechanical energy. So electrical energy is now converted into mechanical energy over here, which then allows the user actually to open this hand to do some activities like holding a cup, holding a bottle, holding a glass, something like that, and then he can actually drink it. So coming more in detail about myoelectric prosthesis. So like, as I mentioned, electrode picks up the microvolts of electricity produced by the contraction in the muscles of a residual limb. Then the signals are actually amplified and they activate the motor, as you can see in the picture. So there are two electrodes, as I mentioned, one on the extensor group, one on the flexor group, which is used for opening and closing of the hand. So there is a socket, there is a AMG electrodes and battery, some coaxial plugs, some wirings inside, some chips inside, and then the prosthetic hand or terminal device. Now, that was the overview of prosthetics. Now let's discuss something about orthosis. What are exactly orthosis? So anything which is externally applied onto a body to achieve one or more of the following goals, like controlling the biomechanical alignment of any anatomical joint, whether it's for upper extremity or it's for lower extremity, or to correct or accommodate the deformity, to protect and support an injury, to assist in rehabilitation, to reduce the pain, and to increase the mobility, of course, and ultimately leading to independence. So there are different types of orthosis as well. They're starting from the foot. It's like a foot orthosis or insoles. There are a lot of lower extremity orthosis within the foot, which I will discuss in the next slide. Then ankle braces or fracture braces, or knee, hip, then a spine. In upper extremity, we have a humeral fracture, brachial plexus injury braces, shoulder supports, elbow supports, wrist and finger. And then for the head, we have a cranial helmet or cervical braces. So coming to the reciprocating gait orthosis, in a case of a complete paraplegia where a user or a child has lost all muscle group inside, they have some neurological disorder which doesn't allow a user to actively use his limbs, maybe having some contracture or muscle weakness. So this is a highly specialized device which works on the principle of reciprocating gait. What is reciprocating gait actually? If the patient flexes the right hip, then the left hip automatically goes into extension, enabling to user to stand without support and allowed to walk. What are the features and benefits of this? Is like it gives stability at the hip, knee, foot, and ankle complex. So as you can see, it is covering you from the torso, from the top, and going way down up to the foot. Then it is designed from plastics, carbon composites, and hybrid variations, depending upon the requirement or depending upon the prescription. Then there are various types of hip joint, ankle joint, knee joint, and of course the cable mechanism which allows a reciprocating gait. And then in which case actually you should actually think of reciprocating gait orthosis like muscular imbalances, like multiple sclerosis, DMD, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, complete paralysis or partial paralysis. It can also be fabricated, as I mentioned, from different types of material. Then what is the hip knee ankle foot orthosis? So HKFO is actually a part of, it's a lower version of RGO, which doesn't have reciprocating gait feature. Rest, it gives you stability of the hip and lower torso. And it can be given in a case of paralysis, paraplegia, spina bifida, or the complete muscle weakness. Then going way down, we have a knee ankle foot orthosis. So in knee ankle foot orthosis, it does like, it encompasses your upper proximal thigh and go way down to the foot, and which includes different types of knee joint, different types of ankle joint, which permits the knee flexion and ankle plantar flexion or dorsiflexion. And in the knee, of course, knee flexion and extension. What are indications like cerebral palsy, paraplegia, spina bifida, or DMD? Okay, even in a case of poliomyelitis, actually a user need KFO, or in general in India we used to call it as a caliper. Then going way down, there is an ankle foot orthosis. So it is a smaller version, you can say, of knee ankle foot orthosis. So it actually controls your ankle position if the patient is having any ankle deformity or any muscular imbalance. So it compensates for the muscle weakness there by providing a passive support to a particular group of muscles. Also for the stabilization of ankle, foot, and knee. It enhances the abnormal gait pattern. It can be given like very frequently. It is given in a case of cerebral palsy. So I'm going to give you a demonstration, like in a recent advancement, how the measurements are actually done. In the past, we used to take plaster measurements or tape measurements, but now the things are completely changed. So I'm just showing you this video to make you guys aware that how it looks like the orthotic industry in current scenario. So you can actually go for a digital scan, as you can see into the video. And this actually helps us get a 3D image of a particular limb shape. So you can see the guy is actually scanning the patient's foot, the plantar aspect in the very first time. And at the same time, you can see that the 3D image is being generated onto your software. And now he comes onto the dorsal aspect. And you can see how the 3D image is actually being generated. So that is the beauty of using technology in the field of orthotics and prosthetics. So orthotics prosthetics has gone through a recent developments of these things. Not recent, but these things are now more into the practice, and you can actually see these things available in India as well. And you are done. You can actually let the patient go home, and the same data can be used to design any sort of orthosis. So now the smallest version of any orthotics, except foot orthotics, is a supramalleolar orthosis. So any kid or any child having hypotonia, like Down syndrome or muscle weakness actually, or frequent falling, something like that, in that case, you can actually give supramalleolar orthosis. You can think of those things. The best part of SMO is like it doesn't immobilize any particular joint. It gives support to ankle joint, yet it permits the mobility to that joint. So we are talking about mobility in this case. It's very mobile, it's very active, and it controls your ankle joint as well. And it actually improves your standing balance and walking in a case of hypotonia, or a patient is having severe subtalar pronation, hindfoot deformity, or flat foot, something like that. You can, if you're seeing in your daily practice something similar to that, you can actually refer to your closest orthotist in your area to design these things, which is actually going to help you guys a lot when you are talking about a complete rehabilitation in a more holistic way. These are Dennis Brown splints, which is given in a case of CTEV, club foot, neglected club foot. Over here, patient can actually crawl even while putting these ones. In the past, these were very frequent prescription where user can actually not crawl. So the baby's milestones, motor milestones were actually getting delayed. But now with the help of an active Dobbs bar or Dennis Brown type of design, a child can actually crawl and maintain that milestone throughout the period of using this orthosis. It can be given in the case of club foot, talipes equinovarus or CTEV, then metatarsus adductus, internal tibial torsion. So these are the common prescriptions which actually Dobbs bar is given, or any CTEV splint is given. Then comes the rotation strap. In comes where you are seeing a typical internal rotation of complete limb, lower limb. In a case of cerebral palsy, you see that scissoring gaits are very common. So in those cases, actually, these rotation control straps can help you a lot giving a user a chance to actually stand or walk in a more precise, effective way. Then the tibia varus splints are also given in the case of genu varum or bow leg, you can say. So it pulls the knees together medially, and ultimately it gives correction to the deformity. Then some more pediatric orthotics like Pavlik harness given in a case of dysplastic hip or dysplasia of hip or CDH. These are the most common prescriptions. You should actually be known that these things are available in a case of CDH or DDH, congenital dislocation of hip or dysplasia of hip. Then there are a few upper extremity orthotics, which actually are given in a case of paralysis, stroke, something like that. And it replaces the lost movement of any group of muscles. It also helps you to release spasticity, contracture, and allows the user actively to grasp something, even if he has a complete paralysis or you can say a paralysis or incomplete paralysis, I would say. Then I was talking about a cranial helmet. It is given in a case of plagiocephaly or mesocephaly, you can say scephocephaly. So any head deformity, if it is not a craniosynostosis, which is a contraindication, or hydrocephaly, one should actually think of giving a cranial helmet to the babies. It is given after 3 months of age and not over 24 months of age. So you can see scephocephaly, plagiocephaly, and brachycephaly. How does it look like? It's a flattening of the head, you can say, mostly given in between 3 to 18 months. And this is ideal protocol. What is the working principle of is like the helmet contact the bossed area or where the head is protruded, and it allows the head to grow actually in the least resistance path, ultimately to form a complete round head, you can say. But it must be wore 23 hours a day, and there should be a visit every 2 to 4 weeks to actually take a 3D scan. I'm going to show you how we capture a 3D scan of the head over here, as you have seen for lower extremity orthotics. For head also, we can take a 3D scan, which captures the head shape very precisely. And then one can actually design a cranial helmet or cranial remolding orthosis, you can say, in a case of plagiocephaly or any sort of head deformity. So we put some targets onto the patient's limb. These all technologies are actually also available in India. So there's nothing I'm showing which is not available there. You can actually contact your local orthotist to get these things done in your region. So see, it is very easy to capture the 3D image. Imagine the same step or same process which was used with the help of plaster. So it's very messy, and it actually gives a lot of trouble while taking the replica of the head. So the technology has helped us in the field of orthotics and prosthetics, I can say. Then come on to the spinal orthotics. In a case of scoliosis, back pain, or injury, you can actually refer your cases for a spinal orthosis. So in case of scoliosis, actually, it is very important that a child should actually wear a spinal orthosis, customized one, to actually correct the curve, a specific curve actually. So you can say this is a deformed spine, abnormal curvature. So there could be a thoracic curvature, lumbar curvature, or combination of both, or excessive lordosis. So mostly idiopathic scoliosis, or even a case of a neuromuscular scoliosis, one can actually opt for spinal bracing, which helps a lot actually when you as a special educator or any rehabilitation team member gets a lot of help in the rehabilitation process. So these are the classification of the scoliosis curves. Before we used to see only two types of curve, like C-type or S-type, but now we have a lot of classification. This is ALS classification, augmented Lennard-Roth classification. Based upon that, we have 7 subclassifications for scoliosis, depending upon the type of curve, and accordingly the design of the brace looks similar in the down image you can see. And these are the curve name, like 3CH, 3CTL, 3CN, 3CL, 4C, 4CTL, or 4CL. So based upon these identification of the curve, we actually design spinal braces. So as we all know, there's this is scoliosis, abnormal curvature of the spine. Right? It's now generally low profile underarm brace. Before we used to give Milwaukee brace, which was very high profile, where we used to actually capture, or we used to encompass the mandibular as well as occipital bone. So that used to be very awkward, and a lot of compliance issues used to be there. Patient doesn't accept those braces in normal day-to-day life. So now underarm braces are actually very popular for the treatment of scoliosis. So post braces, you can actually see it came from 44 to 29 in a single time of scoliosis bracing, but over the period of time, when patient actually continues wearing it, based upon the skeletal maturity, you can actually reduce its curvature to 0 as well. Okay. So here I conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please do let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sir.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
अगर
sir.
आपके कोई क्वेश्चन है आपके पास तो आप पूछ सकते हैं, या फिर मेरा ईमेल आईडी लिखा है यहाँ पे, आप मुझे ईमेल भी कर सकते हो। अगर आपके पास कोई पेशेंट है जिसका आपको असेसमेंट जानना है या कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए, तो आप मुझे ईमेल कर सकते हैं।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सो मच।
किसी को कुछ क्वेश्चन है तो पूछिए।
नहीं सर, ठीक है। हेलो सर। हेलो सर।
यस
सर, मैं पूछना चाह रही हूँ, बैक पेन और स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में पेन दोनों क्या सेम है?
बैक पेन जो है वो जनरली आपको स्कोलियोसिस के कारण भी हो सकता है। बट बैक पेन के और भी कॉजेज होते हैं, जैसे कि डिस्क प्रोलैप्स आपने सुना होगा, कि जिसमें डिस्क का बल्जिंग आउट हो जाता है, उस केस में भी बैक पेन होता है बहुत। बट अगर ये स्कोलियोसिस के कारण है तो आपको स्पाइनल ब्रेस देना पड़ेगा। वो जानने के लिए आपको एक्सरे करना बहुत जरूरी है। एक बार आपके पास अगर एक्सरे आता है आपके हाथ में, तो आप चेक कर सकते हो कि स्कोलियोसिस है या नहीं है। अगर स्कोलियोसिस नहीं है तो हो सकता है कोई और अंडरलाइन कॉज हो सकते हैं इसके, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया डिस्क प्रोलैप्स हो सकता है, या एक्सेसिव लंबर लॉर्डोसिस हो सकता है। तो वो आपको एक्सरे देखने के बाद, प्रॉपर असेसमेंट करने के बाद आपको पता चलेगा कि रूट कॉज क्या है। अगर ये बैक पेन स्कोलियोसिस के कारण नहीं है, तो हमारे ब्रेसेस जो हैं वो दूसरे टाइप के होते हैं। उसमें हम बेल्ट वगैरह ये सब देते हैं, लंबोसैक्रल बेल्ट।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू। ओके, अगर आपके पास कोई भी क्वेश्चन है आप मुझे ईमेल कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन। तपस जी, मैं एग्जिट करता हूँ।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू।
हेलो सर।
यस,
थैंक यू सर।
একটা কোশ্চেন আছে আমার।
हाँ जी, पूछिए, क्या क्वेश्चन है आपका?
স্কোলিওসিস হলে বাংলায় বলতে পারি?
नहीं, हिंदी में बात कर सकते, बंगाली नहीं आती मुझे।
कोई बच्चा को स्कोलियोसिस हो तो क्या करो, मतलब 11 years old।
से पूछो।
सो स्कोलियोसिस जो किसी भी बच्चे को होता है, अगर वो 18 से 19 साल से नीचे का बच्चा है तो उसके केस में हम करेक्टिव ब्रेसेस बना सकते हैं, जिसमें आपको जो करेक्शन होगा वो ऑलमोस्ट नियर टू 100% होगा। बट अगर 18 इयर्स के बाद आप स्कोलियोसिस ब्रेस ऑप्ट करते हैं, वहां पे स्केलेटल मैच्योरिटी पूरा कंप्लीट हो जाता है, राइजर साइन ऑलमोस्ट 4 पे पहुंच जाता है, तो वहां पे आप करेक्शन नहीं कर सकते, वहां पे आप प्रोग्रेशन को रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकते हैं, वहां पे जो एंगल है आपका कॉर्प्स एंगल है वो और आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा, तो गोल हमारा चेंज हो जाता है। बट ऑफ कोर्स अगर 18 ईयर्स से पहले कम का बच्चा है तो आप 100% स्कोलियोसिस ब्रेस दे सकते हैं उनको, करेक्टिव स्कोलियोसिस ब्रेस। अगर आपके पास कोई पेशेंट है और उनको अगर स्कोलियोसिस ब्रेस चाहिए हो, तो अगर आपको नहीं मालूम है कहाँ पे बनता है ये इंडिया में, तो आप मुझे ईमेल कर सकते हैं, मेरा नंबर तपस जी से ले सकते हैं, और आप मुझे मैसेज कर सकते हो मेरे व्हाट्सएप पे, किसी भी चीज में आपको गाइड करूंगा आपके पेशेंट को।
थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सो मच।
ओके, थैंक यू।
सर व्हाट्सएप नंबर कहाँ मिलेगा? ओके नो।
Is it okay? और कोई क्वेश्चंस है?
क्या कल था बेटा? अरे क्या कल था चलो?
हेलो,
कहाँ रे? हेलो।
thank you so much everyone, I'm leaving for now, thank you.
Thank you sir.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर। आ देखिए थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर। हम लोग तो नहीं। थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
हेलो। हेलो, सब लोग सब सुनिए। हाँ सब लोग सुनिए।
सर बोलिए।
স্যার ইভ্যালুয়েশন কখন পাবো?
इवोल्यूशन हम भेज देंगे, थोड़ी देर बाद हम भेज देंगे आपको, व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में मिल जाएगा। कल लास्ट डे है, कल 3 बजे से शुरू होगा। कल 3 बजे प्रोग्राम शुरू होगा।
স্যার আজকে লেকচার শেষ?
हाँ आज के शेष, कल के 3টা থেকে শুরু হবে।
আগামীকাল 3টা থেকে শুরু হবে স্যার?
हाँ हाँ हाँ
ঠিক আছে।
3টে থেকে
তাহলে
স্যারদের দেওয়া পিপিটিটা এবং ইভালুয়েশন ফর্মটা শেয়ার করবেন স্যার।
হ্যালো,
শেয়ার করে দেব।
তো সাপোজ 3টে থেকে কটা অবধি হবে?
3টে থেকে 7:30 অবধি চলবে।
3টে থেকে 4:30 সকালবেলা 11টা।
হ্যালো হ্যালো স্যার।
টাইম টেবিলটা দেওয়া আছে, আপনারা ওখান থেকে দেখে নেবেন।
হ্যালো স্যার।
হ্যাঁ হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ বলছিলাম ওই বিকাল 3টা থেকে 7:30 পর্যন্ত নাইট।
हाँ हाँ हाँ।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
अच्छा आज की इवैल्यूएशन की
আচ্ছা ওকে স্যার ঠিক।
हाँ? आज की इवैल्यूएशन की কিছু হবে?
हाँ हाँ।
हेलो
স্যার আমরা লিভ নিতে পারি? হ্যালো
हेलो
হ্যালো, বলছি স্যার আমরা লিভ নিতে পারি?
হ্যালো
আগামীকাল কোথা থেকে শুরু হবে?
হ্যালো স্যার আমরা লিভ নিতে পারি?
স্যার বলছি আজকে 4টে ফিডব্যাক আর একটা ইভ্যালুয়েশন মানে টোটাল 5টা পাঠাতে হবে তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
স্যার ওটা কটার মধ্যে পাঠাতে পারলে হবে?
কটার মধ্যে না, 1 ঘন্টার
1
মধ্যে।
ঘন্টা।
ইভালুয়েশন সিটটা একটু দেরি হলে অসুবিধা আছে 7টার মধ্যে?
না না, আপনারা 1 ঘন্টার মধ্যে পাঠিয়ে দেন।
স্যার আগামীকাল কোটা থেকে শুরু হবে?
আপনারা
আরে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ গ্রুপে দেওয়া আছে তো ভাই,
আছে, আমরা
বারে
আবার
বারে কি কথা
শেয়ার
জিজ্ঞাসা
করব
করি?
গ্রুপে।
স্যার আমরা লিভ নিতে পারি?
হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে তো দেয়া আছে, দেখলে
হ্যালো স্যার, স্যার
हम
আমরা
लोग
লিভ
ग्रुप
নিতে
में-
পারি?
हाँ लिव लीजिए, लिव लीजिए। आप लोग ग्रुप देखिए, ग्रुप में हम शेयर कर देंगे टाइम टेबल।
यस सर।
একটা কোশ্চেন বারে বারে করে মানে হয়।
थैंक यू सर।
ঠিকই
हम
বলেছে।
लोग अभी लीव हो जाइए।
আচ্ছা স্যার বলছি আমাদের হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ গ্রুপে যে অ্যাবসেন্ট গুলো আছে কয়েকটা নাম, ওই কটা নাম ছাড়া বাকি তার মানে সবাই প্রেজেন্ট তো?
আমরা এখান থেকে পেজে নিয়ে নিচ্ছি, যারা যারা পেজে আছে ওনাদেরটা দেওয়া হচ্ছে না, আর যারা যারা অ্যাবসেন্ট আছে ওনাদেরটা দেওয়া হচ্ছে।
তার মানে যারা যারা অ্যাবসেন্ট শুধু তাদেরটাই গ্রুপে দেওয়া আছে, তার মানে
হ্যাঁ
বাকি
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
বাকি সবাই প্রেজেন্ট তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
प्रोग्राम कल 3 बजे से होगा सर।
यस यस।
आप लोग ग्रुप फॉलो कीजिए, ग्रुप में दिया हुआ है टाइम टेबल।
Sir, can we leave now?
हाँ लिव नाउ, लिव नाउ।
স্যার আপনারা যে লিংকগুলো পাঠিয়েছেন ওগুলো কিন্তু খোলা যাচ্ছে না।
ये बता
হ্যালো,
हाँ हेलो।
হ্যাঁ স্যার বলছি লিংকগুলো তো খোলা যাচ্ছে না হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ থেকে।
কোনো লিংকই খোলা যাচ্ছে না।
हम लोग एक काम करिए, किसी को शेयर करिए तो खुल जाएगा।
শেয়ার
खुले तो।
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ তাহলে খুলছে, ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ থ্যাংক ইউ।
हाँ
স্যার আরেকবার বলবেন কি করে খুলতে পারবো লিংকটা?
ওটাকে
आपको शेयर कर दिए।
শেয়ার করুন, খুলে যাবে।
শেয়ার করব, কাকে শেয়ার করব?
যে কোনো কাউকে, আপনার কোনো নিজের কাউকে শেয়ার করুন।
আচ্ছা। বলছি স্যার
आप लोग लीव हो जाइए, हम मीटिंग बंद कर रहे हैं अभी।
यस सर।
স্যার লিংকগুলো তো খুলছে না।
ARR नंबर B45370।
হ্যালো,
ওটা আপনি কাউকে শেয়ার করে দিন, তাহলে খুলে যাবে।
শেয়ার করতে হচ্ছে না তো তাও।
যে কাউকে শেয়ার করে দিন।
हेलो मैम।
6262
আচ্ছা
আমরা মিটিংটা বন্ধ করে দিচ্ছি এখন, আপনারা লিভ হয়ে যান।